Welcome back. It's time to hit the road. We are less than 3 months from Election Day, and NBC's Jon Allen and his crew have embarked on an old-fashioned summer road trip, talking to voters in battleground congressional districts that could very well determine which party controls the House. The drive to Decision Day started with Jon and his crew heading from Washington to New Jersey's 7th congressional district. Pennsylvania's 7th and 8th districts were up next. Then they head further west, first to Strongsville, Ohio, and Ohio's 7th district, before heading to Toledo in Ohio's 9th district. Then they keep going to Iowa, hitting Davenport and Des Moines, before wrapping up this drive to the midterms in Omaha. In all, that's 8 House races in 5 states in less than a week. We're going to be checking in with Jon from the road all week, starting now. Jon Allen joins us from Hazleton, Pennsylvania, part of the 8th Congressional District. Jon, hope you enjoyed that graphic for you. What are voters in the 8th telling you about that competitive House race there?
That's a great graphic, Garrett. We're excited to be here in Hazleton, actually at a tire shop because we got a nail in the right front tire, so we're going to be fixing that. But before that, we talked to some voters here. Hazleton's really interesting. It is in this super competitive congressional district. It is both majority Hispanic and majority Republican. It went pretty hard for President Trump in the last election, about 60-40. But what we're hearing here is that some of the Latino voters in this community are not pleased with what the president has done so far. Particularly, they're upset with the ICE raids and the interior enforcement. And while Hazleton's the 3rd largest community in the 8th district, it could be an important one in terms of both turnout of voters and a little bit of a shift potentially toward the Democrat. The Democratic nominee here is Paige Cognetti. She's the mayor of Scranton, which is pretty good distance from Hazleton, but that's the biggest population center in the district. The incumbent Congressman Rob Bresnahan has gotten support from the president. I was here with President Trump late last year, I think in December, when he spoke about the economy here, and Bresnahan got a shout out from the president.
I think we were at that event together, actually. You spent much of the day in Pennsylvania's 7th congressional district on your way in, which Donald Trump won by more than 3 points in 2024. What do voters there think of the president now?
And look, there's a great mix. We were in Nazareth today, but for folks at home, this is basically the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania. It includes Allentown and Bethlehem, the congressional district. In terms of what voters are saying, there's some Republican pro-Trump disappointment in the president. I think you got a clip here that we can listen to.
I agree with going in if there was a plan of how to get out. This has drug on too long. He doesn't have a plan. He does not have a plan. He can sit there and tell us he has a plan. He can tell us I don't know how many times I've heard we're going to bomb the heck out of him. That's not what we want to do as America. We don't want to destroy civilians and other people. So what was the plan? And him and his, all his staff that made these decisions did not know that they would use the strait as leverage against the rest of the world. So here we are again, can't afford the medical, and now we can't afford gasoline. And he wants to say it's temporarily. How long is that?
And of course, that was specific to Iran there, Garrett. Same voter upset about the economy and some of the other issues that a lot of voters across the country are upset about. The question is that going to keep Republicans home, or is it going to switch some of them to Democrats in the midterms?
And you started today in New Jersey, in Republican Tom Kaine's district. If folks remember, this is the congressman who had disappeared for a while for medical treatment. What are voters you spoke to there saying about the president and this race?
Yeah, again, a big mix of feelings on the president. But, folks in New Jersey have a way of saying things, and we got a little bit of New Jersey English on some of their ideas. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
A lot of times he just needs to shut up.
That is his problem.
He just needs to shut up. We know your right, heart's in the right place, but Russell's right. You got to lead from the top, from a higher standard.
I would say eyes and get out of here. Yeah, and treat your people with respect because we're all human beings out there, like everybody. So, everybody should deserve dignity of a right life.
If you could say something to President Trump, if you had an opportunity to talk to him and say something to him, what would it be?
I love you, brother.
And Garrett, those are folks answering a question we're going to be asking pretty much everybody we talk to, the sort of letters for Trump from this road trip. What would you say to the president if you had an opportunity to do that?
It sure is a shame none of those people would tell you what they really think. Well, talk to me about Tom Kean. He faced scrutiny, obviously, for his absence from Capitol Hill as he was dealing with clinical depression. How has that showed up in this race? Is that a concern of voters in that district?
Yeah, there are a couple of layers here, Garrett. When we talked to people on the record, on camera, people were very compassionate. They said that that was not going to affect their vote in the election. Those who voted for Kean in the past said they're supportive of him. But we did talk to a woman who said to us that she had just been talking about it with her husband the night before, and she's a Republican, and she voted for Kean in the past, and her husband the same way. And they both said that they were unhappy, not necessarily with the fact that he missed time or got treatment, but that he wasn't transparent about it during that huge absence from the House. I think it was about 4 months. And she said that they're thinking about withholding their votes for Kean because of that situation. But nobody wants to say that on camera because I think there's a lot of sensitivity around what everybody, including this woman, expressed as compassion for him having struggled with his mental health.
That makes sense. So, assuming you get this nail tire situation fixed, you'll be in Ohio when we talk to you tomorrow. Probably not a state that was on a lot of people's radar 6 months ago, but certainly more interesting and more competitive now. What are you looking for in the Buckeye State?
Yeah, we're going to Strongsville, Ohio, which is a suburb sort of southwest of Cleveland. This was a pretty Republican territory, still is a very Republican territory, but the congressman there is the issue. Max Miller. Folks may recall that he has been accused within the last couple of weeks of abusing his ex-wife and his daughter. He denies those allegations vehemently. An interesting family fight in there, too, because his father-in-law is the senator from Ohio, Bernie Moreno. We want to go talk to voters there and see whether these allegations are going to cost Max Miller votes, or if folks will look past that, Republicans look past that and say, look, this is a guy that's voting with the president. We don't really care what's going on with this family, or perhaps that the allegations are unproven and they're not going to kick him out of office.
All right, Jon Allen, with a chance to stock up on the road trip snacks while you're resting here, taking a break. Thank you for all of your great reporting, and we'll see you in Ohio tomorrow for day 3.
Thanks, Garrett.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.